Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Wu. I am Director of Accessibility Services here at Berkeley College. And you also see Vincent Moss, who is our coordinator amongst our guests today. And we have Bea and Jessie from HIPSIL joining us on a special presentation to talk about transitioning into college successfully. Before I let them introduce themselves and speak, just want to tell you a little bit. I want to share this with you. If you have questions about accessibility services and you can't reach us, or you'd rather read about it versus calling us, you can go to our LibGuide. And here, there's information. What's a disability? What are accommodations? Information on how to apply, how to renew. Here are links to accessibility tools for students. And then the recorded programs I place here from the past. And this recording of this presentation will go on this page as well. So I wanted to share that with you. And we are here to support you in your journey through Berkeley to graduate successfully and get a job. We are so happy you're here. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Blagica and Jessie, and I'm going to hide myself now. All right, take it away, folks.
Thanks so much. Let me just have Jessie share our presentation.
Awesome.
And I will get started.
Thank you, Catherine, for the introduction. Much appreciated. We're just gonna set everything up. Can you guys see us?
I think it just needs to go into slideshow.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Well, welcome. Thank you again for
Excellent.
Thank you again for having us. Like Catherine said, we're going to be discussing tips and tricks on transition to college. And go ahead, you can go to the next one. Let's see. The first thing I'm going to tell you, congratulations on committing to get a degree certification, whichever choice you decide to do. You are now a grown adult. Trust me, Jessie and I have all been there. The biggest tips I can give you, or at least the starting tips I can give you, is getting enough sleep, going to class, and turning your work in on time and making time to study. I mentioned sleep to start off with because if you come into school like a zombie, you're not going to process anything. Trust me, I've tried. It doesn't work. My first semester, I did 4 classes back to back, was in school from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I don't recommend it. Sleep, make time, correct your schedules. Trust me, I've learned. Here are some more tips for you on the next slide. Choose a schedule that best fits your obligations: sleep, work, family, volunteering, worship. If you have a physical disability that requires medication, if you have another disability that requires a strict schedule, make sure that everything has its time and place. And remember that each course that you take has, while you're in class for maybe an hour and a half, each class also requires that you set a time, like an hour and a half out of class, to make sure the assignments are done properly, that everything is handed in on time, and that you're actually absorbing the materials. Another good suggestion would be to utilize the help that you have from your personal counselors, accessibility services office, academic coaches, tutors, your academic advisor, as well as your professors. I know that when you start, professors are scary, but I promise you by the middle of the semesters, you will make friends with them, get comfortable talking to them so that you can successfully go through the accommodations that you need without feeling like, oh, I can't explain that, or I can't tell him that. Trust me, most of the professors have worked with other people with disabilities. They've probably heard it all. So you've nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing for you to worry about. Word it the best way you can. And if you can't word it, then write it out and hand it in. That works too. Go ahead.
Oh, might be. Hold on. Having some technical difficulties. Hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second. Oh, we fixed it. Hold on 1 second, having some technical difficulties.
You were just saying earlier, this always happens.
Hey,
Nah.
we just finished.
Give us one more moment. I'm sorry. Any idea?
No. Maybe close the PowerPoint and reopen it.
That's what I'm gonna think.
Do
So
you
hold
want me
on
to
one,
try to share?
hold on 1 second. We're just gonna open the PowerPoint. Here we go.
There we go.
So I think they were in two separate tabs, so apologize.
Can you guys still see?
No, we
No,
have to share it, so
reshare.
apologize. Now we're rolling. Maybe you can,
Well, I'm always rolling.
on
So.
the edit, we could maybe edit this out.
Sure,
Sorry
no
about that.
worries.
Okay,
Now, the high school versus college. As most of you might remember, high school is much more structured. You get in at a certain time and you leave at a certain time. In college, no one is going to remind you to get there on time. No one is going to remind you to turn in assignments, unless you have one of those mothers that will wake you up when you ask them to. But that's not always the case for some people. Remember that even though you're working with accessibility services, you are still held to the same academic standards. Again, don't be ashamed to ask for help. Your grades are important. Your grades are what's going to get you to graduate. And I tell everybody that I speak with, your report card or your grades in your entry-level jobs, they're going to ask you when you interview, how did you do in college? Were you punctual? Did you do this? Did you complete this in a timely manner? So technically, college is your practice job interview, if you will. The more practice you get talking to people, the more practice you get putting your thoughts together, putting yourself together, getting organized. That's all going to help you in your field of study and your field of work. Be more self-aware. Deadlines won't disappear if you have an accommodation. Plan your classes to include your well-being. Burnout is a real thing and it's really not healthy for you. Plan so that you can sign up for what you can handle. If that means spending an extra semester at Berkeley, yes, it's a lot of money, but your well-being and your mental health is much more important than trying to finish college in the college standard. Oh, I have to finish this in a semester, or oh, I have to finish this in a term. No, no one's making you choose how to finish, when to finish. You finish when you're comfortable and you do it safely for everything involved, your mental health, your physical well-being, and you want to make time for enjoyable things. Remember that life has its own learning curves. Mistakes are normal. You can bounce back. It's important to know when you need help, and it's important to know it's okay to ask for help. Okay. Now, Jesse's going to go over some study methods and note-taking techniques to help you within classes.
awesome. Thank you so much, B. So we're gonna go talk about the Cornell style. Shout out to B for being able to get this Cornell style picture up there. So this is basically what the Cornell style of taking notes would actually look like. So what happen is that you have the left column, and these are things that could be keywords. These are questions that you may have. And it's definitely good to definitely make sure that that's the pretty much a good size to have on the left column. And then on the right column, it's obviously going to be bigger. That's where you would take some notes, but it's very important to keep in mind that it's not like long notes, that it's very good to keep it short. Definitely have a sentence, but if you have more than that, it's kind of pushing it. Use acronyms, have a small language, and you could use symbols, have abbreviations, and all that good stuff. And then at the summary, it's towards the end, it's like extra notes, and that should be basically at the bottom of the page, about 2 inches down, or about definitely leave about 5 to 7 sentences. And then once you go back to check out these notes, what you would do is you would go to the right section first, and then you would check your notes, and that gives you kind of a gist of the things that you're learning, all those acronyms and all that good stuff. And then you would go back and forth from the right to the left, that if you wrote questions on the left side, something that you should be doing is from your notes on the right side, you should be able to answer the questions on the left side. It's if that's something that you have questions there, or if there's important keywords, that you should have that keyword there, and then it should pop up in your head of the actual reason of why you have that keyword. So it's definitely helpful. It's not for everyone. I didn't use this back in college, but it's something that people have. There have been studies on this, and it definitely works for some people, doesn't work for everyone. So it's definitely a good option. So you can pick and choose and see what works good for you. The next thing you would be doing outlines. I would say outlines is something I prefer, something I like. It's something that I've had a couple of friends in college do this method. And my professors, if they had a preference, this is something that they would use, as in if they were sending out any guides and stuff like that. So it's just easier. It's simple, that you have your important parts, and you have your main idea, you have the supporting idea, you have the supporting detail. Something that I like to do is I like to do the supporting the main idea, the supporting idea, and the supporting detail to have page numbers, so you can just go back to it, back and forth. So that could be really helpful. And then color coding, that kind of goes in line with your note taking. So what you can do is you can do the different things you could do is have it written out on a piece of paper, and then have it by different colors, and then have a guide which says, well, if it's so if it's yellow, it's going to be super important. If it's orange, it's pretty important, but not as important. And then you can go back and forth. It could also give you different tips of, hey, this is main idea 1, or this is a supporting idea. And then you can just go back and forth, and you can do it under main idea 1, 2, or 3. It's something that's definitely helpful, but it's not for everyone. Something we do like to take into account is, with the changing of technology, a lot of the books are now online. So the color coded guides, this could be done on a Word doc, and you could just copy and paste the information back on the online book, and it's something that could be very helpful. If you have a printer, you could just print out certain sections or copy and paste, and then and then do another document and then print out the document.
Before
Um,
you continue, I
yeah.
just want to add one thing.
Sure.
I used color coding a lot when I did my 15 weeks of Shakespeare. If you have a Kindle, your Kindle will highlight in different colors. So if you have your textbooks on an e-reader, you can highlight and save, and it will make almost a notebook for you. And you can use your Kindle to go over your notes. I did it my junior year and my senior year for most of my classes. So if you're more a tech person, there are different ways to highlight using technology. And there's also pens, I think, if they still work. They had them when I went to school. You highlight your text and the important things,
That's awesome.
and they come on a Word document. And then what I used to do is I highlighted everything I thought was important. Then I'd sit and I'd organize it the way that the professor lectured, so I knew how to study. So there's different tips and tricks. If you like the highlighting method, there's different tips and tricks about how to get your point across.
If
Awesome.
I can add something to what you just said, Lisa,
Sure.
all the students, their books are e-text,
Oh,
and
okay.
everyone has the option to highlight and make notes. So
Really
doing
cool.
what Blagica said is like a great way of doing it. You can do one color for main points. You could do another color for like questions you have, or something that you noted that the professor mentioned in class. So definitely the color coding, I know many students find that useful.
Awesome. So another different type of method, I could have flashcards, and this is something that I would do. Something I started, I would think in 6th or 7th grade. I would have the important information. I would use it for if I had a vocabulary test, I would put the word and the definition on the other side. So that was helpful. And then I would use this in college if I was using how to pick up different types of text. And how they did it. It's a very good way in the picture, because again, it's color coded. So I would say for people that don't have these skills, as this person in the picture has, because it's definitely super neat. It's very clear. Is just write down the important parts that you got back on the notes, and then have the page number in the paragraph. That's something that's definitely very helpful. And something that's definitely great about this is it's pretty much the ultimate test to actually test yourself. Because if you think you're confident, then have some flashcards, put down a important word or a keyword or a key phrase, and then have the explanation on the other side, and really give your chance an opportunity to like test yourself, to actually prove to yourself that you're ready. And you could find out if you definitely know the material or if you need more practice. It's a really good gauge. Is there anything you'd like to add?
The only thing I can think of when it comes to flashcards, if you're like me and you don't like your handwriting, I used to print everything and
I
then
don't like
tape
my
it.
handwriting. Yeah.
I know
it's horrible.
I used to do like 10 font. I do definitions on the front, like you said, and the word on the back.
Yeah.
And then I'd hand them to somebody and be like,
Test me. Yeah.
test me. This is what I need. I have 20 minutes.
Awesome. So more information on the study methods. It's very important to copy it onto a new sheet or document. The reason why this is so important is because don't be like me. In college, I would have a 5-subject notebook of all the 5 classes that I would take. And sometimes I would get a little excited and I would keep different notes on the same paper for a different class. It's confusing, it's not helpful. If you have that subject notebook, make sure that you put it into each different subject, have those borders, set those borders, hold yourself accountable, and then for each class, make sure everything's labeled so that it has the date, has the class, has the topic. It's so important to just have a new sheet, and because it's helpful, because it's so easy to go back, and if you're organized and like, hey, so on such and such class and such date, here's what I learned. It's so easy to go back and forth. The next one, it would be annotate. How do you say?
Annotate.
Annotate. So this one is super cool, and we talked about this in the past, that it's good to have some things marked up. Like you mentioned, Catherine, that the books are online, so you can highlight them. You can, I don't know if you can write
Yes, you
margins
can
in the
make
book.
notes in them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So if
Mhm.
that's something that's a possibility, definitely take advantage of it, because it's just easy. It keeps you organized. It's something that you can visually actually see it, and you can save it. So it's great to go back and highlight. And the study groups. So for tougher classes, and classes that I had friends in, it's definitely good to partner up with people, partner up with a couple people. This is important because it's also super important how to be social, and it's great that you can test each other. And it's also great that if there's something that you don't understand and you talk to the professor, and he's still a little iffy, that your study partner or your study partners can like help explain it or help go over it. Because sometimes if you talk to professor, talk to them after class, and it's like, oh, I got it, like I understand it, and then you go do the work and you don't understand it. That's happened to me. It's good to have a buddy may be able to like understand it or get it. So I think study groups are really helpful.
I think the only suggestion that I can, or the only words of wisdom I can say when it comes to study groups is just remember that everybody has their own learning styles. So there might be a person that you don't get along with, and it's not that they don't like you, it's not that they don't understand you. Remember that everybody has something going on in their own life, and don't take things personal.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing you could do is be in a study group with a person you don't get along with, because if you're frustrated, you're not going to get their material regardless.
Yeah.
So even if you're in a group with someone that you don't get along with, take the information they're giving you, absorb it, and then put it in your own words when you come home. Don't be combative. It's not going to go anywhere.
Exactly. So tutoring resources and planning, something that we just talked about on the past slide. If you don't understand something, I cannot say this more, schedule time to talk to your professor, and if you need more help, extra help, go to the tutor, talk to the tutor, take some time to actually go there and see if they can help. And my experience in high school and in college, they've been super, super helpful. So that would be something to definitely go, but that's just half the battle. The second half of the battle, the most important thing is that you set up an actual time to do that and that you actually show up and go. I was a tutor in college, and sometimes people flaked. So definitely hold yourself accountable that if you set the appointment, that you show up and you make the best of the opportunity. And then it's also important that if you're taking 5 classes, it's something that those 5 classes are things that you can handle. If you can handle it, that's great. If you want to be a little bit make things a little bit more tough on yourself, hop on that 6th class. I wouldn't recommend it, but if it's something that you feel that you can confidently do based on the past time, then try to do it. If 5 is too much, definitely take some time to say, hey, I could maybe do possibly 4 or possibly 3. It's just important that you understand the material, that you're comfortable taking out the time, and that you've set time out that you can plan to get things done. Something that I talked about in the HIPSIL talk is that what's usually helpful is that you're at your the instructors usually tell you ahead of time on the first day of class that, hey, here's the assignments, here's when they're due. And something that's unfortunate is you'll usually find that the professors all have them due around the same times. That's why it comes into have a plan, have a focus, have a strategy, and to stick to that strategy.
I think if I can elaborate on what Jesse just said, what I used to do, because I graduated from Ramapo back in 2012, what I used to do is I used to sit with all of my syllabuses the first day of class, and I would plan, like put all the dates together on a calendar and figure out, like, if English is your toughest subject, and I'm using English as an example, so if no one is taking English, I apologize. But if English is your toughest subject, then make sure you give yourself an extra 2-3 days to make sure that your papers are spot on and what have you. And if you're not comfortable writing, then start your paper and then bring it to a tutor. See if they'll be willing to edit it with you. See if you can get tips and tricks. But the best way to be successful is to have some kind of plan moving forward. Like, yeah, the semester started Monday, but by the end of that week, by Friday, look at all the dates, figure out what's due when, because the last thing you want to do is cram everything towards the end of the semester, because by the end of the semester, you're planning to just be done and relaxed. You don't want to stress yourself out, especially when you chose the classes that you're capable of doing, and you have plenty of time to get it all done if it's planned out properly. Okay.
Yes.
Do you want me to do the accommodations?
Sure.
Okay. Accommodations are completely up to you. They're approved by the Accessibility Service Office each semester. Don't wait to talk to your professors about things you're going to need. If you're one of those people that needs to be sitting closer to the chalkboard, or if you know the accommodations you need right off the bat, one, bring it to the Accessibility Services Office so that they're aware of what you might need. 2, if you're comfortable enough, day 1, day 2, talk to the professor directly, because even though Accessibility Service is there to kind of mediate between you and the professor, I always found it much more beneficial to be able to have a conversation with your professors directly. Speak up for yourself, whether it's extended time, note-taking, or any other problems that might arise. You're going to be your best advocate. Yes, there's a team of professors. Yes, there's a team of tutors, but you're going to know what you need more than anyone else. And if you need help getting self-advocacy skills or self-advocating in general, in any sense of the word, that is something that HIP does here. Jesse and I would be more than happy to sit
Absolutely.
down with you. And if you have a question on how to ask the community for something, or how to go about making the place where you live accountable or aware that you have a disability and you need help, that is one of the things that he and I are very passionate about.
Oh, absolutely.
And the last thing, and I put it last because it's one of the most important things, don't wait till the last minute to ask for assistance. If you're drowning in the beginning of the semester, grab a floaty. Don't drown. There's no point in drowning. I promise. There's someone out there going through the same thing you're going through, and there's someone out there to help you. Before we go on about what heightened independence and progress does, I want to open the floor up to everybody. Does anyone have any questions? Comments, concerns?
Well, I can say a lot of our students are online. You know, they might
Okay.
have to take some classes in person. So when it comes to being online, you have a whole week to do the course. And professors, they may record a presentation that they speak about, or they might post some slides for you to read, and then they'll give you an assignment. Read this chapter, do these problems, and post discussion board. And I know for our online students, students who take the classes online, if you get extra time, you get like an extra day for like short assignments, and then the papers, which are always told to them ahead of time, they'll get like 2 to 3 extra days. But one of our biggest issues is discussion boards. There's this is an issue for, I think, students in all online colleges, that discussion boards, the extra time we give them is that we ask the professors to give them the topics at the beginning of the semester, like a list of all the topics so that they can work ahead. But the whole point of the discussion board is for you to communicate with your classmates. So the discussion board is, we don't give extra time at the end of the week because you're already in the next week. You usually have to post one main post, which is to address the professor's question and then respond to 2 other students or so. And I think maybe I guess two questions. One issue is, I did try to see if we could make the discussion boards like give students extra time on the end. And I said, well, just if you have something that comes up, it comes up and you may not be able to, you might need it at the end of the week. Professors push back and say, well, you have a whole week to do it, like a whole week to do the assignment. And we ended up not keeping it because students ended up posting on that last day after the classes were over, when they got the extra day. Like, no one posted early ever. So one thing is, double checking in your experience with other colleges, how do they handle discussion boards? So that's my personal question. And then the second question is, if you know the answer, because from what I've seen is no college does discussion board extra time.
Okay.
But other question is actually about, managing the online, because they are not, no one's in front of a professor. And I think, it's really easy when school, it's really easy when you're not held accountable to have a professor in front of you to kind of structure that time.
Okay. How do I go about
Thank you, Angela.
answering? How do I go about answering this? Okay. Now, I haven't done a discussion board in a very long time. Is this like based, is it like a current event type of questions that they're reacting to?
No, it's
Or-
based on their reading. It's based on that week's coursework. So it would be like, the equivalent would be like if you were in class and professor is like, okay, so tell me about, I don't know if it's a legal course, this week we're studying constitutional law, compare these two and why do you think, this argument is better than the other or something like that. And then the students
Okay.
have to respond.
Okay. Well, in that sense, the best piece of advice, but I don't know that it would work for everybody. Sit down and do the question as soon as you finish the reading.
Absolutely.
That way it's
agree.
fresh in your mind. And don't, like, discussion boards aren't meant for you to write a full essay. They're looking for 3-4 solid sentences that answer the question to the point. You're just showing the professor that you read what was in front of you and that you understood it to the best of your ability.
And I think one other thing that I usually say to students is, that's the one assignment you won't get extra time on. So you should do that first. And it's
Yeah.
based on
Absolutely.
what you've read. You're much more likely to get an extension on a paper or something like that, a homework assignment, but not on a discussion board.
And if the discussion board, like if students are struggling with the discussion board aspect of it because they're not comprehending the material, then that's something that, you can kind of fix on your own, because you can say, oh, I understand what I have to do, but I don't understand how to go about it. Maybe talk to someone you're comfortable with in class and see how they approach answering the question, or go see a tutor who's done the class and who can maybe explain it better. I don't want to say who can dumb it down, but who can at least break it down in a way that you would understand it in order to answer the question.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, work with the tutors and the coaches. I think sometimes the thinking about how we use tutors, I think they're more helpful if you've already done some of the work and tried.
Exactly.
Well, I never go into a tutor and say my paper's due in 10 minutes or in 2 days, where do I start? Always go in with something like Jesse went over. Always go in with some kind of outline or at least a starting paragraph, so the person helping you at least sees that you have a starting point or a direction you want to go in your paper. Because tutors aren't there to write the papers for you.
Yes.
They're there to assist you. Or let's say your paper is a car, right? You're going to drive the car to the mechanic. The mechanic's going to direct you on how to fix it, but you have to drive the car home. That means you have to finish your paper and you have to make sure that what you're putting into it is going to fuel it and get your grade.
And you have to drive the car actually there if you can do that. So
does that make sense?
So like it's definitely important to have that attempt to actually put in some extra effort to actually prove to your tutor that, hey, I'm stuck. Here's why. Here's my attempt. And that's something that's definitely helpful. And then with the postings, something that I always focus on is what's the main priority? And that's usually a focus on which is the first assignment that is due first. So if posted on those boards, that seems like that's the first priority. That's the first focus. Focus on that first. Get that done first. And it usually seems like that, according to the message in the chat, that they give you some type of time. So as we both talked, have a plan, and that plan would have a focus on focusing on what's due first.
Thanks.
Now, do you get the discussion? Do they see the questions beforehand?
Yes.
So then in that case, start with the questions that you have an understanding of. Work with the ones you know, And then what you're left with, either get a study buddy, see a tutor, kind of break it down in a sense of, break it down in the sense of a way for you to comprehend without feeling like you're going to drown through it. Also, what you can do is go back in the notes that you've highlighted. Your answer is probably something that the professor went over and you highlighted and you marked up and you found it. So it's in there, you've read it, it's in your head, you just have to dig for it.
The discussion boards are kind of like, though, it's not like the question, like it's not in your textbook. You actually have to like research it in a scholar website, academic
Okay.
journal, and you
Okay.
have to look for an article, and that takes time also. And then depending on the teacher, like for me, it's 250 words. So
Okay.
that's difficult. Responding to that.
Okay. So you have a minimum of 250 words that you have to use.
Right.
Okay. And do they give you the journal articles you can use beforehand, or do you find those on your own?
No, you have to find it on your own in the library, but it's the difficult part is searching up what the discussion post is about, because you can't just type in, oh, I'm in the medical field, so you can't just type in EHR program,
Okay.
how, for example, like the positive ways, like you can't type that, there won't be articles, so you have to be very detailed, so it takes like time to look for a good article.
Okay. Now, would you be willing to share an example of a question with me?
Sure, let me just go, because
I know we have lib chat, we have librarians on call.
I was gonna say that might be one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is, I haven't done this in forever. There used to be an academic journal where you would put in all the keywords in the question, and it would populate all the journal articles that have something to do with the topic you're looking for. Yes,
Yeah.
it's going to take you a lot of time to dig through it. But if you read they're not called summaries. What are they called? Because each article
Abstracts.
has, yes, abstract. Thank you. If you read the abstract, it'll give you a good understanding of what the article is about, and you can kind of break it down to see this article might answer my question, or this article might not answer my question. The whole point of using the articles to answer the question is so that the professor can actually check that you did the reading. So you're going to have to use some information from your textbook to back up the lines in the articles that you picked out, because that's basically what they're doing. They're cross-checking to see if you did the assignment. Does that help?
Yeah.
But in terms of like search strategies, I mean, you can set up appointment, like instead of just sometimes, I mean, if you're running out of time, you can just say, I need help finding an article and blah, 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 blah. And you could submit that as a lib chat question. It might help you maybe to set up an appointment with a librarian to help them work with you on learning how to develop search strategies, because that's going to save you ultimately a lot of time.
A lot of time. Yeah. Make friends with the librarian. I mean, you're talking to a book nerd, so that says a lot, but make friends with the librarian. Now I have a question for Catherine. Does your school have like a teaching assistant? Do they do TAs?
They don't have TAs in class, but all the faculty members have office hours.
Okay.
But definitely when the librarians and CAS, they're both really heavily involved, and they have lib guides, just like I showed earlier in the lib guide for accessibility services. Every single degree, there are resources and journals listed that pertain to that degree. So Ashley, if you're like a nursing student or something like that, and you look up that lib guide, you will find them all there. So my suggestion is, now it's early in the semester, this is an issue. is to set up an appointment with a librarian and see if they can help help you develop a strategy of how to approach this to save you time in the future.
Maybe I can even try and Google like library search strategies and I can email something to you.
So something that's helped me, and I don't know how applicable this would be, but if you're looking for something, put the phrase in quotes,
Yes.
because that'll give you exactly what you're looking for and not, no, like exactly what you're looking for. So if that doesn't exist, then at least it tells you, hey, it doesn't exist. But if you just put in the actual topic, it gives you similar stuff that you may or may not want, but putting it in quotes is helpful if you can find what you're looking for.
Also, if you're worried about filling up the 250 word minimum, remember, you're answering the question, but you're allowed to say your opinions and your thoughts and why you chose the quotes that you chose or why you chose the information that you chose. Because when you explain it, you're showing to the professor you read what you were supposed to read. So it's not about just answering the question. Your opinions are valid and they will help your grade. She's nodding her head. I did the right thing. Okay.
Yeah, that's really good because they want you to interact with the material. They want to know that you've been thinking about it and that you understand what you've read. So that's the point of this. And you post something, sometimes that first post is the hardest, especially if others haven't done it, because you're doing your original thought. But then professors love it when you post first because it really gets the conversation going. And then when you respond, you're responding to other people's opinions and statements with your own statements where you back up what you're saying.
And don't forget, you don't always have to agree. You can disagree respectfully if you have the material to back up what you're saying that's found in your text.
Right.
So if you don't agree
with personal opinions, they're opinions based, like your thinking is like you agree with the statement or you disagree with the statement, and this is why. Yeah. Is that helpful, Ashley?
Have any other questions?
Yeah.
Questions, concerns, comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
I work with Catherine in the accessibility services, and
Okay.
some students have mentioned to me that they want to know how they can sort of speak up more in class and be more assertive, to participate more. Like, what are some good ideas to help with that, with their confidence level?
So
go ahead. You want to go first?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So if I can kick it off, I would say in the most simplest form to just do it. And by saying that is it'll get more comfortable, it'll get easier the more that you do it. If it's something that is too challenging or something that you don't think that you could do, maybe give your instructor a heads up and say, hey, I'm trying to get more involved in class. And if it's helpful, the instructor can call on you or kind of nod their head towards you. And then that'll give you the cue to, hey, it's time to speak. That could be helpful. And it also could help to practice about the particular topic that you're talking about, because if you're confident in the things that you're about to say, it'll also get easier. And also ask your instructor if you could practice what you say. Something I would and then I'll just say to restate it, just go out and definitely try.
Now, when you say they want to advocate, are you talking about the students want to learn how to ask for certain accommodations or how to like ask a question in class, like advocacy in which aspect?
Well, one student, for example, said, I feel kind of shy, but I have the answers that I want to speak up in class, but I don't feel comfortable.
Okay,
You know, for whatever reason, they're
for
shy
whatever
and they're not,
reason, they're
yeah,
like,
they're not extroverted.
there's certain things, there's two things I can think of. The first one, I would go back with what Jesse said. The only way the student's going to get more comfortable is trying. So I would go back to your student and be like, I understand that you're shy, but the only way you're going to learn is by attempting it. So give them the task of, you're going to be in class once, it's twice a week. Make sure in that 1 week you ask at least one question. And like, it doesn't even have to be anything big, like just do one to break the ice, because I have a feeling that the question the student wants to ask, he's not the only one that wants to know the answer.
Right. And they can start off small, like just do a
Something,
little question
a little
first
bit,
and then build
something,
up.
yeah. And if they
Okay.
have a friend who's in the class, maybe have the friend ask the question the first time and then tell them, oh, but I'm only doing this once, so you've got to at least try. Kind of make it a give and take of friendship, if that makes sense. Like if they're
Mhm.
comfortable talking to one person in class, tell the person beforehand, hey, I really want to know this answer, but I'm shy. If you ask this one, I'll attempt it next week, but I really want to know the answer and I'm not ready to actually ask.
Great. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Of course.
Awesome. Any more questions or comments or anything else that think of?
I mean, one of the main messages I got from your presentation was the amount of time you spend planning, and saves you, like, you gotta think before you start studying, and then that helps you
Absolutely.
study better. Yeah, so those tips are really helpful.
And I think in terms of studying, put the extra time in the class that's giving you the hardest time. So kind of set yourself up to succeed in a sense of, if you can figure out the one you're struggling with the most, then you know that you can kind of relax in the other ones because you have some kind of system or groove going on for everything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. And I love it's like a positive attitude instead of being afraid of it or wanting to avoid it. You're setting yourself being like, well, the assumption is you can do it. And yes, you can do it. You just have to spend more time and energy doing it.
I
Yeah.
think seeing everyone here, I think I can safely say that you've all committed to getting your degrees. So if I can give any kind of piece of advice, take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Don't try tripping over yourself. Don't try running to the finish line. Like I said, even if it takes you an extra semester or an extra, or two, get it done, but get it done in your way. I'm going to use myself as an example because I finished my bachelor's degree, my associate's degree. I was one of those people that finished Bergen in the 2 years you're supposed to finish Bergen. But I didn't enjoy college. I went from school to therapy to doctor's appointments. I didn't give myself enough time to enjoy the experience of college, because once you're done, you're going to go into the workforce. You're going to get your certificate, your degree, what have you, in the field at Berkeley that you've chosen. So you want to make sure that you find time and you have the energy to enjoy being a young adult. Yes, I told you, congratulations, you're an adult, you picked college, but yes, enjoy the life you've chosen to live. I'm glad I have my degree. I love what I do here at HIP, but I wish I would have given myself more grace to have fun and make mistakes.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So last semester, two semesters in a row, I had 7 classes to do, and now I'm just doing 5. Do you think I should like take a break then afterwards? Because like, I mean, 7 classes is a lot, and I'm still like,
How do you feel?
how do I feel?
Yeah.
Exhausted. I'm tired. Like I feel like my brain, but
You said you went from 7 to 5?
yeah, I had 7 classes 2 semesters in a row, and now they
Wow.
dropped it to 5.
Okay, are you handling the 5 that you have now well?
I feel like I'm doing well, but I feel like I'm blocked a little bit. I guess because like, it's like it takes a lot to like, finish 7 classes while I'm
Yeah, it
Yeah, that
does.
is a lot. You did it
They,
twice.
comprehend.
like I said, I did from 8 AM to 10 PM, did 6 classes in a row, 2 days a week. So I
Wow.
completely get
that's
academic burnout.
Definitely draining.
I don't want to tell you to drop classes or not drop classes. I'm going to give you a piece of advice. If you can handle the 5 and you want to
gonna say that, yeah.
continue with the 5, then go ahead. But I would sit down with a piece of paper, evaluate your goals, evaluate your time, evaluate how much energy you want to safely put into everything, and then figure out where you land at the end of it. Because even if you finish the 5 classes and you get the grades you want, if you don't feel mentally and physically well with the outcome, then the grades are great, but you're not okay and you didn't enjoy it. And was it worth it for you in the long run? That's something you have to decide. That's not something Jesse and I can tell you yes or no.
All right.
Are you taking 7-week classes? So Berkeley has 15-week long classes, and then you
Mhm.
can take 7.5-week long classes.
Okay.
Wow.
So it's like modules versus semesters.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I know the issue with the 7.5-week classes is technically they're twice as fast. You're doing
Yeah.
twice as much.
Wow.
And I think, but that doesn't happen in all the classes. But when it does, it's a lot. Like it's twice as fast. So now you're
Yeah.
doing not 2 hours of studying a day. You're doing 4 hours of studying for a class a day.
Wow.
Yeah. I
And
think
if you
I
don't
liked what you said. What
pick
you
up
said
on
about
it,
you have to listen to yourself about if this is something that you can handle. And that's the not just your academic advisors, but the personal counselors. This is why we're I'm not a personal counselor anymore. This is why they are here, because they help you with that conversation. And accessibility services, you can also have that conversation with us. But that's one that takes some time to work through.
And I think I want to piggyback with what we said about advocating. You're going to be your best advocate. So
Exactly.
you're going to know when enough is enough and when you reach your limit on what you can handle academically. So if you're one of those people that struggles making decisions and making choices, whether you can handle this or not handle this, that's kind of where you have to take a step back. Maybe take a day off, spend a Saturday doing something you love, getting back to yourself, and then coming in on Monday and saying, I've recharged, I've rejuvenated, I've decided I can only happily handle 4 classes and that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, we've come up on our time. We're actually a little over, but I
Oh
want
my
to thank
goodness.
you guys so much for coming. I will, for those who are here, I will send you HIPSA, if that's okay with Jesse, you and me,
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
send your
sure.
contact information.
Yeah.
And I will,
Absolutely.
and
We have a question. I think.
oh,
No,
sure.
I think he's clapping.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
he's
sorry.
clapping.
A round of
Oh,
applause.
very sorry.
No
I
worries.
do want to add one more thing. If you're sending the PowerPoint out to the students, there are slides that we didn't get through because I wanted to give everyone enough time for questions, but our core services are in the PowerPoint and our contact information is there. So if any of you students are more comfortable speaking to Jesse and I And if we can relay a message to Catherine or any of your advisors, we'd be more than happy to do that. And if you're in Bergen County or in Hudson County, there's a bunch of peer support groups. So if you're looking to make friends with other people with disabilities, please take advantage of the information that's there and give us a call. We're here to help you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for taking out the time to.
Thank you
Also,
so much for
thank
being
you.
here. We're so
Thank
lucky
you
that
for having us.
we're gonna have them come back to us next Thursday too with another presentation. I'm gonna send you guys an email about that. But thank you all so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you at our next presentation.
We'll
Bye,
see you in
Thank you.
May.
Great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.